Mr. Mayor, you're live in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our council meeting tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Um, we will start with the question period. We have two questions that were emailed in, so I will read each question and I will answer the questions. Okay. I have to look away to a different computer, so if I'm not looking at the camera, there's a reason. Okay, the first question came from Jeremy Levi. The question is, this summer will be an extraordinary summer for children. There will be an unprecedented number of children playing in the streets and parks this summer due to the closure of most summer camps. Furthermore, many adults and families who usually travel during the summer will probably not be doing so. This will create an environment of high traffic from children, as well as no decrease in cars on the roads from no summer traveling. The safety of our children is paramount above all else. As a parent of 4 young children, more needs to be done to cater to this unprecedented environment. Aside from a few new temporary signs posted on roads, there have been no concrete measures to increase the safety and minimize risk. Signs do not stop cars. I would like to know what radical measures, such as stationing crossing guards at all busy intersections, will be in place to ensure a safe environment for our children. Okay, I want to thank you for the question. As some people know, I am very much in favor of safety measures for our children on our streets. In fact, in the 15 years I've been mayor so far, we have put in more speed humps than any other mayor in the past. Some people joke we're now called Humpstead instead of Hampstead. I introduced raised crosswalks. We have 10, I believe, now. They almost all go from a sidewalk to a park. We introduced extra large stop signs in dangerous areas where we want to hit home the need to actually stop. We have gotten Côte St. Luc to join us and lowered the speed limit on Fleet. We get a lot of cooperation from the police, and it goes on and on. Now, this summer, I have certainly been concerned about the number of kids I see on the streets, not just kids, adults. They're walking on the streets, they're bypassing others, respecting the 2-meter distancing rules. And I see cars, and some of them are going much too fast. And some of them are ignoring stop signs.
Don't leave the
We
TV.
have increased our public security very substantially. They can't give tickets for moving violations, but the police are cooperating and helping on that front. Right now, I have had one complaint on this issue, and that is the area around Gayton Park, which happens to be right across the street from the home that you're building at 80 Merton. So we looked into that. We asked for more police presence in the area. They have kindly obliged us. I know the police were there today. They've been there many, many days in the last little bit. They've given out a whole bunch of tickets. People going through the stop sign at the corner of Gayton and Albion, people going through the stop sign at the corner of Merton and Albion. Just, I think within the last week, a 7-year-old was crossing at the intersection of Merton and Albion and almost got run over. Several mothers screamed at the driver, who did not stop at the stop sign and was turning. One of the problems that was flagged to us was the fact that it was a blind corner all the construction vehicles working at 80 Merton were blocking the line of sight, even right up to the stop sign, which is illegal. So we responded immediately and we put up no stopping signs in that area. And I was by, and I know that at 7:30 this morning, there were still too many vehicles parked in the area. Checking again at about 11:30, 11 o'clock, there were less. And by, I think, around 12:30, just about all of them had gone. So that was a measure just put in place this weekend, and it seems to be having a positive effect. Now, should we have crossing guards at busy intersections? Well, we would have to look into that. I'm perfectly willing to look into it, but most of the time, it's not really an issue because I'm out an awful lot. And I know big chunks of the day, there aren't that many people. At other times, there are. We'll have to consider it. We obviously have to consider the cost, the feasibility, how we can set it up. It's not like having crossing guards for school, and you have particular times when you can have them stationed there. This is going to be much more complicated. But in the meantime, we are going to continue doing everything we've been doing in the past. And if people flag a particular area other than the only one that's been flagged so far, we'll take other steps in those areas as well. So I thank you very much for your question. Give me a minute, I'll find the next question. Okay, this question comes from Ilana Hirsch, and she writes, can you please explain why in resolution 6.1 Asians are singled out and not all races? The council and mayor have yet to make any statement about the Black Lives Matter movement. Not only is this vitally important, it would send a message of support to the residents and employees in Hampstead. Well, again, I have to give a little bit of background here. First of all, as far as the employees of Hampstead go, they know very well that there's no discrimination, there's no racism, there's nothing of the kind in Hampstead. One of our most senior members of our management, our comptroller, is Black. One of our excellent public security officers is Black, and he served in Afghanistan, and when he came back, when he went, he took a Hampstead flag. When he came back, he presented it to the council, and we had a very nice presentation. We don't discriminate against anybody. One of my, and I sit on the interviews for all senior management positions, and I assure you, there's no hint of any type of discrimination. Our employees are a veritable United Nations. Employees speak numerous languages. They come from numerous backgrounds, and we want only the very best people working for us. And when you discriminate, you don't get the best people. I can tell you I've had in 15 years, two incidences involving racism, not on the part of the town. I want to be clear about that. One was a driving while Black situation. I immediately informed our commander of Station 9, and I told the resident what to do if it were to happen again. Another one was a different situation. As soon as I heard about it, I approached the Black residents, and we had a long 2-hour conversation where, amongst other things, made it very, very clear the town will never discriminate against anybody. As far as resolutions go, we have passed numerous resolutions against discrimination. Bill 21 was the most recent one before tonight's resolution. And Bill 21, the biggest impact is on Muslims who wear hijabs. And we passed a blazing resolution. It was only the most recent one prior to tonight. Why are we having tonight's resolution that relates to Asians? Very simple. City of Montreal passed this resolution. We, as it states in the resolution, are adding our support, our commitment. Why Asians as opposed to any other group? The reason is that with COVID-19, the Asian community has been the subject of many, many racist and discriminatory acts. It's a serious problem that's happening right now. On the issue of Black racism, I'm happy to tell you that in the very near future, the Association of Suburban Municipalities will be putting out a statement, which I fully endorse, that deals with the issue of racism in general terms, covering everybody. So, that's basically the answer to your question. We certainly consider racism to be a terrible thing, no matter who it's against. It doesn't matter if it's anti-Semitism, if it's Black Lives Matter type of thing, if it's against Asians because of COVID-19, if it's against Muslims because of not allowing them to teach, wearing a hijab, or any of these things. We will always be very, very strongly opposed. Okay. At this point, I'm not sure if there were any questions that came in through our other option. Can someone tell me if they know there are other questions? Terry? Anybody?
Yes, you have 4 questions.
All right, let me try to get to that part of the screen. Okay, now here, show questions. All right. Okay, it says 5 questions, but I don't see any questions.
Click on new.
Click on new. Okay, here we go. Okay, we have asked that people identify themselves when asking questions. Nevertheless, some have not. This first, but I'm going to answer all the questions. The first one is from Anonymous, came in at 8 p.m. Why was this meeting not held in person, and when will regular in-person council meetings resume? Well, actually today, just today, Quebec announced that we can go back to live meetings. However, there's a maximum of 50 participants, and we have to take all the usual and substantial measures to make sure that everyone is safe, including people who will use the room after the meeting is over. So at the present time, we're sticking with these remote meetings, but we will keep evaluating the situation. I think many of us would like to go back to in-person meetings, but for the time being, we have to be very cautious, and we'll evaluate it, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, next. Anonymous, when will this start? Okay, it started. I believe we're about 5 minutes late, a few technical difficulties. Okay, from Catherine Doucette. The boarded up apartment building at 5785 Côte Saint-Luc Road has seen some activity over the last few days. Workers inside can be seen doing some type of either renovation or demolition. I would like to know what type of work this is, as I see no permit outside the front door of the building, which I'm sure would be required by the town of Hampstead in either case. Was there a permit issued for the work that is going on in the last few days? And if so, what type of permit was it, and when was it issued? Well, I have to assume if there's nothing in the window, there's no permit. I thank you very much for flagging this. I assure you, we're going to look into it first thing tomorrow morning. If there's no permit, they will have to get a permit. And at that point, we'll be able to talk about it. I can assure you it's not a demolition, because that for sure, nobody would be trying to do a demolition without informing the town. But are they doing some type of work inside without a permit? Quite possible. And if it's something that requires a permit, we will crack down on it, just as we have with many, many other cases where people try to get away with things. But between our inspectors and our residents, we usually find out. Okay, next question. It's being moved up. Anonymous. Oh, okay. It wasn't typed exactly right, but it says cars are speeding at a very fast speed from Fleet to Ferncroft and vice versa. Could anything be done about it? Well, I don't know. Fleet to Ferncroft, that means they are on either Holly or they're on Netherwood, one or the other, because those are the streets that go between Fleet and Ferncroft. We will we'll flag it. Well, what I'd ask Anonymous, please send me an email, tell me which street it is that you're talking about.
Mr. Mayor, Finchley runs that way too.
Finchley runs that way. Okay, great, thank you. So please send me an email indicating which of these three possible streets you're talking about. If it is Fleet to Ferncroft, I believe we are currently monitoring speeds on that particular block. Sorry, if it's Finchley between Fleet and Ferncroft, I believe we're currently monitoring speeds on that particular block. But again, I can't tell unless somebody tells me exactly what street we're talking about.
We are.
We'll look into it.
You're 100, Mr. Mayor, you're 100% correct. On Finchley between Fleet and Ferncroft, we are monitoring speed.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm assuming everybody can hear when the councillors interject, even if you can't see them. And that was Councillor Schaefer. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we have another question. Again, Anonymous. We have a lot of people named Anonymous in the town, I guess. Okay, simple question. Can you please explain what is occurring at 6191 Côte St. Luc Road? There's one of the councillors. Can you help me? Which one is that? Because there's...
that could be the one under construction at the corner of Glenmore.
The corner of which?
Glenmore. There's construction going on at that building.
Okay, so yes, I can answer that question. Côte St. Luc and Glenmore, they are doing work. Well, they've been doing a lot of work. They're doing work on the facade. They've already done a lot of work inside the building, and it's all been approved. They have a permit. Everything was passed by council. So without drawing you a picture, I can't tell you in detail, but there's a lot of work that will make the building look nicer on the outside and also better on the inside as well. That's all I can say there. Okay, the next question. Okay, Harry Benachaya. As a resident of Finchley between Fleet and Ferncroft, I have witnessed the increased traffic in part due to the change in signage allowing left turns for most of the day for eastbound traffic, and perhaps also due to the increased population and other factors. Although many times the street is quiet, at other times the traffic flow includes city vehicles. Two-way traffic from all other vehicles pedestrians who often walk on the street, bicycles, etc. Have you considered reinstating the no left turn restriction as before and adding a second speed hump to slow existing traffic flow? This narrow street cannot accommodate this much traffic safely. Okay, the answer to that, as mentioned previously, I believe we are studying the speeds of the cars on that very block. There is already one speed hump, as noted. We will put in a second speed hump if the speeds meet our criteria. The criteria is the fastest 15% of drivers have to be exceeding the posted speed limit by 12 kilometers. If that is the case, there will be a second speed hump going there. As for the no left sign, no, we won't change that. Basically, we decided long ago to spread out the traffic, and there's no reason why one street should not have traffic. And the other thing is, you mentioned two-way traffic flow. That's actually a good thing because it tends to slow down the speeds. If it's our own vehicles that are speeding, we will certainly speak to them about that. That shouldn't be happening. Okay, I think that covers all the questions. So at this point, we will move on to the rest of the meeting. On the screen, you can...
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, you have another question.
Whoops, they keep coming in. All right. Sylvia Fabrizi, good evening. I'd like to know if we can hope that the swimming pool will open to non-residents. Actually, we can see that residents don't want to swim in this marvelous swimming pool. So why you should not open for non-residents? Thank you for your answer. Okay, the answer to that is, first of all, we're discussing it in caucus after this council meeting. But in general, there are very few, if any, of the suburban towns that are allowing non-residents. And the reason is simple. It's Hampstead taxpayers who have obviously paid for the pool, and more importantly, who pay for the operating loss each year, which is significant and will be larger this year than normal. But I don't know, at some point we might allow non-residents, but right now the Quebec government has put severe limitations on how many people can be in the area at one time. And at certain points in the day, it is quite full. So the priority has to be first to our own residents. Okay, next, another anonymous comes in and he wants to know, when will the house on Albion be demolished? Well, I'm guessing that he's referring to 14 Albion, which happens to be across the street from me. So I guess I'm interested in that too, but I don't have the answer. So I don't know. They have a demolition permit, and they can demolish it subject to the rules about the time limit. At some point, I don't know off the top of my head, but at some point the permit expires and they would have to apply for a new one. We have agreed to extend the expiry dates for things like this by 2 months, taking into account the period when construction could not take place. Okay, that's as much as I can tell you about that. And my screen says there are no new questions. I thank everyone who's watching and sending in questions. Very much appreciated. Okay.
Bill, for your last question.
Yes.
I know that it's coming up either before construction holidays or immediately after construction holidays. The reason I know, I've been approached, I'm the neighbor in the backyard, and he approached me, and he's already, I've seen some signs, they put like some wood post for their electrical entry when they demolish. So this is the answer for your last question.
Thank you very, very much, Councillor Alfasi. And we're both going to be affected by this. And so now we know, probably starting just before the construction holiday or just after it. Okay. Now, let me. So we'll start the meeting. Adoption of the agenda. Motion of Councillor
Schaefer.
Schaefer, seconded by Councillor.
Regensburg.
I'm sorry.
Regensburg.
Regensburg.
Seconded by Councillor Wiggensberg. It is resolved that the agenda of the regular meeting is hereby adopted as submitted. Anyone opposed? Okay, if nobody opposed, so we move on. That's adopted. Now we get to the departmental monthly reports, and we'll start with Councillor Wiggensberg, all about CSR.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Just a few updates. The CSR has put together a schedule of activities that will hopefully help fill the void that is presently felt by all of our parents and children. And everybody go to our website, you'll find more details. Some of the items are online, a lot of them are out in the park, and it's all within the guidelines of being safe. As we all know, I'll repeat it again, day camp has been cancelled for this year. The pool, we're happily can say, is opened, and things are going well with that. Tennis is also doing well. Everybody's happy with that going on. There have been some hiccups, but we're trying to clear everything out from both the tennis and the pool. Everybody be patient and try to enjoy the best you can. The last most important thing that I just want to say is that some of the events that we're all used to having is that Hampstead Day right now is postponed, and we still aren't too sure the date if it will be happening. So just hold on. We'll keeping up to date with what's going on. As usual, Shabbat Under the Stars has been cancelled. But last but not least is the most important thing, what I'm hoping everybody will come to, especially in this time of COVID, is that it's the annual blood drive. This year it's scheduled for Wednesday, August 25th. We really would like everybody to come. Save the state, and please tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your family, tell people to come, because now more than ever, we really need people to show up. Everybody, please continue to stay safe, pay attention to the guidelines, and just enjoy your summer months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to also mention, I might have missed it, but we have a brand new outdoor ping pong table, and it's just waiting for residents to start using it. No reservations required, but you must bring your own paddles and ping pong balls. So that's one more fun thing you can do. Okay, moving on, we now get to Councillor Edery, Finance.
Okay, just to let you know that tonight we will be tabling the 2019 financial statements. So the auditors had finished their review, and so that is being tabled tonight. I will give you a brief synopsis of what we're looking at. So our operating surplus for 2019 was $2.014 million, so roughly $2 million operating surplus. This was made up of, in large part, extra interest that we earned, an extra $280,000 in interest because we have a lot of cash on hand. Our capital fund, which we budget an extra $665,000 that year, and we're budgeting an extra $1 million this year. Transfer taxes were up by $334,000 more than we budgeted, and we have new revenue stream coming in from the Langhorne Park of $300,000. Let you know that our accumulated surplus now stands at $6.38 million, which is huge for a town our size. Our relative debt compared to other towns is minuscule. Our net debt has gone down to $5.5 million. When we first started, or when I first started in 2009, it was 13 million. So now we're at 5.5 million. Transfer taxes, again, we budgeted 1.3 million. We're at 1.6 million. So that's good. Still healthy movement of properties and healthy prices. And the last thing is our park fund. That's gone up from 1.13 million to 1.3 million, and we've got stuff in the pipeline, so we expect that to go up to like 1.8 million, and that's for spending specifically in the park. So all in all, revenue has been excellent. Debt's down. Property values for residents have gone up by roughly 21% from 2017. And debt has gone down by about 18% from 2017, and we have a healthy surplus. So whatever COVID throws at us, we will be able to absorb and move forward in strength.
Thank you very much, Councillor Edery. We'll move on to Councillor Goldwax.
Excuse me, thank you very much. Just concerning one of the portfolios, Public Works, I will say there's nothing major to announce going on in the past month or so that requires an announcement. However, employees have been working very well and operations been quite fluid, even with all the distancing guidelines we've put in place since the beginning of COVID-19. So I want to thank the whole Public Works team and keeping the town clean, the streets clean, sidewalks clean. So my hats off to them. As for IT, a lot of stuff, although the town's been relatively quiet, a lot of stuff's been going on with IT. And Thierry Houlagingras, who has been our IT guru since the beginning, has been doing an excellent job keeping our data safe and our servers safe. While some cities were compromised in the previous years, where they had to pay money to have their data recovered, Thierry was ahead of the game, and our town has never been compromised and our data has never been compromised either. Despite COVID-19, Thierry is still moving forward on IT projects for 2020, such as the latest Windows deployment, network upgrades, network security audits, implementation of the Kronos payroll software, and we've also deployed a pool inspection app, which is great as more and more residents are now installing pools in their own properties. I think this will be great for us to track and keep track of pools and any infractions and also guidelines. So kudos to Thierry. Thank you for all your great work. And as Councillor Regensburg prefaced about the blood drive, having been involved with Red Cross and Hema Quebec following the birth of my son 24 years ago, as a micro-preemie, I brought the blood drive to our town 14 years ago. During this COVID-19 pandemic, giving blood is even more crucial and will help replenish the depleting blood banks. I'm on the phone with Hema Quebec a lot, and they talk to me about our current status with the blood banks and certain blood types. And I think it's very important that people come out and give blood. One little correction, as much as we want to tell people to give blood, due to the COVID-19, the way the blood drive will work this year is by appointment only. And there's two ways to make an appointment, is by dialing a phone number, which is 1-800-343-7264 and choosing option 3, or by emailing them at jeudonne@hemaquebec.qc.ca or igive@hemaquebec.qc.ca. Just let you know, they're not taking appointments now. They probably won't start taking appointments till the end of July, because we're still a good 7 weeks away from the blood drive. So, but again, that does not take away from the importance of this blood drive. It is near and dear to my heart. It helped save my son's life, and I want everyone to come out and help save other lives, especially during this pandemic. Thank you very much. And stay safe, everyone. Please respect guidelines, social distancing, masks, hand washing. If we want to flatten this curve, if we want to avoid a second wave, please, everyone, I'm asking everyone to respect each other, respect social distances, and keep everyone safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Goldwax. And I now turn to Councillor Budning, urban planning, and perhaps some other issues.
Thank you. Just to build upon what Councillor Goldwax just mentioned, I absolutely agree, and it's incumbent also upon the younger generations, the millennials, as the councillor responsible for youth engagement in the community. We really need to do our part as the younger community members to protect the older community members as well. So I really encourage everybody, whether you're 18, 17, 16, whether you're 30 or 40, we all need to do our parts. That means trying to avoid going to closed spaces, wearing your mask, washing your hands, try not going to bars, making sure that you're being responsible and respectful to the other community members. As Councillor Goldwax mentioned, also with the IT portfolio, which we share, there's now about 1,515 My Hampstead accounts, which we encourage residents to make accounts as well, so that they can sign up for services, get information, and so forth. As well, Councillor Goldwax mentioned a lot of the different projects that Terry is working on, but obviously one of the big ones is continuing to, making sure that our employees and that everybody working for the town is able to telework and do so remotely, and all of the infrastructure is up and running. So kudos to him. With regards to urban planning, there were 57 permits issued this month, and year to date, 149 permits have been issued. Interestingly, we are about $3,000 behind 2019's revenue permitting, which means that we're likely going to exceed that number in 2020. Great news for the community. That means that the homeowners are continuing to reinvest in their homes and our community. And as time goes on, our urban planning department will be picking up inspections and ensuring that residents that are doing work are actually complying to their permits and are doing so in a responsible manner. Other than that, the department remains extremely busy. Now that homeowners are home and that construction is able to start again, there's been a lot of work in the community that's been started up. And kudos once again to the urban planning department, who's more or less completely working remotely for keeping this important division up and running. And lastly, just to touch upon communications, a lot of work has gone into just updating the public through our social media channels, websites, communications in general to the residents. So just with regards to COVID-19 related items, as well as general upkeep of information on what's happening with the town. As well, you guys have, residents have seen the new newsletter that's been distributed. So there's been a lot of work into continually reproducing this and to updating it for future newsletters, as well as residents that are subscribed to the My Hampstead portal that also received the e-newsletter should expect a redesigned one in the coming weeks and months, as it'll be more tailored for mobile viewing and interactive mobile content. And lastly, while preliminary in nature, we are working and a task force has been set up on redesigning the website. I know I've spoken to many residents in the past who said that it's a little difficult to access certain sections of the website or to find certain bylaws or information and answers to questions. And the objective moving forward in terms of redesigning the website will be to ensure that the user comes first and that the information is easily accessible and in a comprehensive and concise manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Budning. And I'm also excited about the things that have gone on in communication and the ones that you mentioned that are coming down the pipeline. Okay, Councillor Schaefer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all keeping safe, observing the rules, social distancing, and wearing masks. My two portfolios consist of legal and insurance, and then public security. I want to thank our Pierre Tapp for his report on legal and insurance, and it'll read as follows. So the town clerk wrote the following. During this period, we had two assemblies of the municipal council, the RCM bin on June 1, and we had a special council meeting on June 15th. Both council meetings were held virtually. Most of the clerk's work was done from his home office, except for a few days which took place at town hall. The town clerk was always available to respond to requests from the various services of the municipality, whether by email, web conference, call, or direct calls. More particularly, we have been in daily contact with the head of our urban planning section to resolve the various situations requiring our expertise on a day-to-day basis. Our town clerk participated in an important meeting regarding municipal insurance with the entire grouping of the demerged cities. He was informed by our consultant that we should expect important increases in our insurance premiums this year again. World events in recent years seem to be the cause. A unanimous decision by the representatives responsible for the insurance file, of which he is a member, triggers a call for tender for the renewal of all our insurance protection. It should be noted that one of the major syndicates of the Lloyd's of London group has decided to leave the municipal area, which forces our brokers to find alternative situations. He will keep the council informed on this matter. Our Maitre Tapp worked in collaboration on the development of the agenda for both June's council meeting and its follow-up. He followed the development of governmental guidelines on the coronavirus crisis daily. He discusses with different clerks from other towns regarding this delicate situation, and he is in contact with the clerks of other cities, and he shares important logistics information with them. As soon as the situation allows, the document of servitude with the City of Montreal will be signed in front of a notary in order to complete the important phase of our possible sales process. The court being in slow motion, and that's very true. The majority of our litigation files have not changed in recent times. We are in constant contact with our lawyers on these different cases. The status document for each of our files is included in his monthly report. Should you wish to have access to it, you can apply for access to information. And that is the report on legal and insurance, Mr. Mayor. My other portfolio deals with public security. I'm a bit surprised that no questions were raised to you about what transpired over the past month, but I would like to take this opportunity to firstly thank our Chief Operations Officer, Fitzgerald, for his report on public security over the past month. The department is functioning well in the COVID situation. There have been many adjustments to information being set by different levels of government. Being one of the only departments open since the beginning of the outbreak, we have been unofficially the go-to guys. We are busy, but doing our best, and they have certainly done their very best. Now, with the warmer weather upon us, there are new challenges that the team is adjusting to. Examples, the almost daily new directives from various levels of government, the amount of people in our parks. The activities in the park are starting to open. Religious institutions are becoming more active, and we are working with them to try and meet their demands if possible. Pool inspections are almost complete, with a final update being submitted in an annex to this report. Officer Schaap, with the assistance of other members of the team, were able to apprehend 2 suspects who stole a package from the front door. Officer Johnson was able to apprehend, along with other members of our team, the individuals who assaulted a youth in Hampstead Park. SPVM were called and took custody of the individual and released pending investigation. The team has been locating many contractors and passing it on to urban planning for their verification and action. I cannot express how proud I am with the work of the members of the team. I wish to add, I'm sure Mr. Mayor and my fellow councillors will probably join me in complimenting the fantastic work of our public security over the past 30 days. For me to review all of the different events where our public security officers acted well beyond the call of duty and exposed them to serious danger would take up a good deal of time for this meeting, so I am choosing not to do so. But I wish to publicly commend, congratulate, and on behalf of our council, tell Officer Schaap, Hardy, and Johnson how proud we are of them for the fantastic events, how they perform beyond the call of duty and expose themselves to danger. This does not mean to say that I don't want to compliment all the other members of our public security, because each and every month, Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors, there's always a different 1 or 2 members of our public security, including our Lieutenant Brent and Chief Operations Officer Fitzgerald, who come to the fore, and therefore each and every month there are different people that we have to compliment. But this particular month, kudos on behalf of myself and my fellow councillors to Officers Schaap, Hardy, and Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schaefer. And yes, I do want to second those comments. Our public security officers are really incredible. And the residents of Hampstead know that. I get so many emails or phone calls telling me this story or that story and how the officers were so good. I also want to mention for anyone, I'm not going to get into the exact details of what happened last Saturday, not this past Saturday, the Saturday before, but there were a lot of rumors going around on the Facebook and things like that. And this rumor mill is always so exaggerated, it's incredible. The story was 2 active shooters roaming the town of Hampstead. That was the story. Of course, I was totally apprised of everything that was going on as it was going on, and that was never the case. There was a single gunshot which injured the target of the gunshot, who was in a car, not a Hampstead resident, and that person was never seriously injured and is probably not even in the hospital anymore. But it was the work of our public security gentlemen who really, without going into the exact details, were very, very perceptive, were totally on top of it, and gave the police extremely valuable information. So sooner or later, these people will all be apprehended, and none of the 3 individuals involved were from Hampstead. So it's basically just a coincidence that it happened on our streets. But again, without the work of our officers, it would have been much, much harder for the police to be on top of this case. So again, as Councillor Schaefer mentioned, this is just one example, a bit of an extreme one, because we don't normally have guns fired in this town, but still. There are just so many other examples. Okay, at this point,
Mr. Mayor, I should point out, though, that the single gunshot was inside the car, not outside the car.
That's right. There was never any danger to any Hampstead resident, and those 2 alleged active shooters did not fire another shot. They took off right after shooting the guy in the car and headed straight for the getaway vehicle, which was parked elsewhere, and they left town. So that's the whole story, at least all the parts that Hampstead residents should be concerned about. Okay, at this point, we will move on with the meeting. And let me just get to my spot. 5.0, adoption of the minutes on motion of Councillor
Schaefer,
seconded by Councillor Goldwax. It is resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 1st and of the special council meeting of June 15, 2020 are hereby approved as submitted. Anyone opposed? No. That brings us to almost there. 6.1. This was the subject of one of the questions earlier. It's a motion to denounce acts of hate, racism, and violence directed towards persons of diverse Asian origins in Montreal. It's a long preamble. This is a resolution that was passed by the City of Montreal, I think, just about a week ago, unanimously. And Hampstead wants to join in because we fully support that. It is terrible that there are people that are wrongly assuming that Asians have something to do with COVID-19. They absolutely do not. So, on motion of Councillor
Schaefer,
seconded by Councillor
Goldwax.
It is resolved that the Town Council vigorously denounces acts of hatred, discrimination, and violence directed against Montrealers of various Asian origins. That the Town Council asks the people of Hampstead to support its commitments to people of various Asian origins through an attitude of cooperation, openness, solidarity, and respect for the dignity and rights of people of all origins. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's adopted. And I'll mention that in no way does that mean we're not against any forms of racism or discrimination. We absolutely are against anything like that. Okay, 7.1, notice of motion of draft bylaw number 1010-10, modifying bylaw number 1010 concerning tariffs Notice the motion was given by
Schaefer.
Councillor Edery.
Goldwasser.
That a subsequent meeting of council, draft bylaw number 1010-10, modifying bylaw number 1010 will be submitted to council for adoption. All council members have received a draft copy of bylaw number 1010-10, and a motion to dispense with reading of said bylaw was made. And that brings us right away to 7.2, which is adoption of this draft bylaw on motion of Councillor Edery, seconded by Councillor Schaefer. It is resolved to approve draft bylaw number 1010-10, modifying bylaw number 1010 on tariffs. Anyone opposed? No. So that's adopted. Let me just see. Okay, that brings us 8.1, deposit of the minutes of the regular PAC meeting held on May 12th, 2020. Each member of council having received copies, the town clerk deposits the minutes of the regular planning advisory committee meeting held on May 12th, 2020. The council takes note of the deposit of said minutes by the town clerk. I believe the date there is wrong. It should have been June. I'm not sure exactly which date.
Yeah, a new item was sent.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody have the date of the?
Yeah, I'll give you the date. It was.
It's here. It's okay. June 8th. Okay, I should have said June. Okay. Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. So that's June 8th. The PAC minutes have been adopted. Have been tabled. That brings us to
8.2.
8.2 concerning 166 Wexford Crescent. Okay. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
seconded by Councillor Goldwax. It is resolved that the modification of the facade for a detached single-family dwelling located at 166 Wexford Crescent and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8th, 2020 is approved as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? No. So that's adopted, and let me go ahead to 8.3.
Page 147.
I don't have the page numbers. Okay. Okay, this one. 8.3 concerns 10 Aldred Crescent. On motion of Councillor?
I believe, Budning. Apologies. I thought this was a file I had to recuse myself from, but it's not. My apologies.
Motion of Councillor Budning, seconded by Councillor
Schaefer.
Schaefer. It is resolved that the modifications of the front facade to a detached single-family dwelling located at 10 Aldred Crescent and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8, 2020 is approved, as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? No. Adopted. Brings us to 8.4. 11 Holly Road. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
Schaefer.
Seconded by Councillor Goldwax, it is resolved that the modifications of the front facade for a detached single-family dwelling located at 11 Holly Road and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8, 2020 is deferred, as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and partially meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and integration and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? No, adopted. And that brings us to 8.5, 21 Colchester Road. Motion of Councillor
Budning.
Budning, seconded by Councillor Goldwax. It is resolved that the modification of the front porch for a detached single-family dwelling located at 21 Colchester Road and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8, 2020 is approved as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? No. So moving on, brings us to 8.6, which concerns 118, 120 Aldred Place. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
Schaefer.
Seconded by Councillor Schaefer. It is resolved that the modifications of the front facade for a semi-detached bi-family dwelling located at 118, 120 Aldred Place and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8, 2020 is deferred as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and only partially meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's adopted. Brings us to, whoops. 8.7 concerning 5675, 5725 Côte Saint-Loup Road. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
Schaefer.
Goldwax. Okay.
Okay. Motion of Councillor Budning, seconded by Councillor Schaefer. It is resolved that the modification of a facade for a detached multifamily dwelling located at 5675, 5725 Côte Saint-Loup Road and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting June 8, 2020 is approved as recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed?
No, but just for
just to
interested
clarify.
residents, I just want, yeah, just for interested residents, they should know it's just a new canopy on Coaching Road over the front driveway.
It's very minor.
Yeah, very much. I was going to say that myself, but you beat me to it. Okay. All right, that's 8.7. That brings us to
8.8.
Yes, I know, but I have to get there.
19 Albion.
Whoops. Okay, 19 Albion. On motion of Councillor.
Budning.
Schaefer.
I think I heard Councillor Budning, seconded by Councillor Schaefer.
Okay. We're wrong, but it's okay.
It is one. Guys have to go one at a time. Pause. Okay, it is resolved that the modification of a facade for a single-family dwelling located at 19 Albion Road and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on June 8, 2020 is approved. It's recommended by the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? No. And this time I'll say this is another very minor modification, which, if I believe, is a glass railing on their front porch. Okay, moving on. 8.9. 162 Wexford Road.
Mr. Mayor, I received no intervention in the present case.
Okay, I was just going to ask.
Okay.
No interventions, it's a minor exemption. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
Budning, second by Councillor Goldwax. It is resolved that the minor exemptions to the zoning bylaw to legalize the existing situation for a dwelling located at 162 Wexford Road and submit to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on May 12th, 2020 is a, no, oh yeah, it might be, held on May 12th, 2020 is approved as recommended by the PAZ. The project only partially meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? Okay, that's adopted. It's just legalizing the current situation, which has existed for many, many, many years. Brings us to 8.10. Also 162 Wexford Road. This is the actual modification to the front facade. On motion of Councillor
Budning.
Budning, seconded by Councillor
Schaefer.
Schaefer. It is resolved that the modifications of the front facade for a detached single-family dwelling located at 162 Wexford Road and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on May 12th, 2020 is approved with a recommendation as recommended by the PAC, and the recommendations are two. The modification of the front facade is acceptable, but the masonry sills under the windows should be changed to cut stone. When we have a recommendation, it's not an absolute requirement, but that is the very knowledgeable opinion of the members of the PAC. The project meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001-2 and only partially meets the prescribed standards regarding the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? Okay, so that's adopted, which brings us to, whoops.
Finance.
Yes, finance. 9.1. Approval of disbursements for the month of June 2020. On motion of Councillor
Edery.
Edery, second by Councillor
Goldwax.
Goldwax. It is resolved that the disbursements for the period from May 16, 2020 to June 15, 2020 in the total amount of $983,533.71 are hereby approved. Anyone opposed? No. Okay. And that brings us to 9.2. In accordance with section 105.2 of the Cities and Towns Act, the town treasurer hereby deposited the financial report and the external auditor's report for the 2019 fiscal year. And that brings us to 9.3, publication of my mayor's report on the financial position of the municipality. On motion of Councillor
Edery.
Edery,
Schaefer.
seconded by Councillor Schaefer. It is resolved that the mayor's report on the financial position of the municipality for the year 2019 be distributed free of charge to every civic address in the town of Hampstead. This will be done by our newsletter, which should be coming out fairly soon. And if it doesn't make this newsletter, it'll make the next one. Anyone opposed?
No, but I also like, it would also appear on our electronic website and whatnot, right?
I'm not sure. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it should be posted to the website.
Should be. I think it should be posted to the website and accessible for people that maybe missed it or gets, they can refer back to it and whatever. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, I agree with all of you. So, Richard, can you please make sure that it is on our website? Maybe it was going to be on the website anyway, but just in case.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, anyone opposed?
No.
Okay, so moving on.
But just to clarify, not just the mayor's report, but the audited financial statements or the abridged version of the audited financial statements should also be posted to the website for transparency in case anybody wants to take a look at the numbers.
That's right. If anyone wants to take a look, then I think it should be posted as well. So Richard, I'll leave it to you to make sure that happens as well. The summary version of the external auditors report, I don't really think anyone wants to read the long version. And of course, my mayor's report as well. Okay, 11.1. Approval of the temporary hiring of Mr. Nathan Tran as Public Security Officer. It was proposed by Councillor
Schaefer.
Schaefer, seconded by Councillor Edery. And is resolved to approve the temporary hiring of Mr. Nathan Tran as Public Security Officer, subject to the usual conditions and in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between QP Local 429 and the Town of Hampstead. Anyone opposed? Okay, adopted. 11.2, approval of the hiring list of white-collar student employees for the Community Services and Recreation Department. It was proposed by Councillor
Regensburg.
Budning.
Regensburg, seconded by Councillor
Budning.
And resolved that the Town Council approves the hiring of the white-collar student employees as detailed on the list from the Community Services and Recreation Department. The hiring is subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between QP Local 429 and the Town of Hampstead. Anyone opposed?
Not
No.
opposing, but as usual, I wish I could see more Hampstead resident, and it's going from year to year lower and lower. But as we all know, and as the mayor always keeps saying, if we have the same qualified, then Hampstead have an advantage. But anyways, I don't know how many applies and how many Hampstead, but it would be nice to see our kids getting those small jobs here in the community.
Okay. Well, I fully agree with you that that we would like to have Hampstead residents filling these jobs, but they do have to apply, and they do have to be at least equal in quality, roughly equal in quality to other applicants. Our first criteria is the very best possible people we can hire. But again, but certainly all things being equaled, in fact, Hampstead residents have some advantages. They always get an interview. Others have to go through another phase first, and only some are selected for interviews. But in the case of Hampstead residents, they automatically get interviews. So we're doing what we can to have Hampstead residents, but the biggest factor is people have to apply for the jobs. Okay, did we? Yeah, nobody was opposed, and there are actually only 1, 2, 3, 4 people on this list. And that, I think, brings us to the end of the agenda. Is there any other business that any councillor wants to raise?
Any questions?
No, I don't think we have a, well, okay, first other business. Any other business?
No.
Then
There is a question.
second question period. I'm not
There
sure.
are
if we have-
questions.
Yes, there is a question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, there is a question. Give me a second to find the question. Here we go. Questions. Our old friend Anonymous is back. All right. I don't know. Same person, different people. I don't know. Why won't you post the audited, detailed version of the financial statements? Really, I don't mind, but
I suggest we post those as well. I suggest we post the detailed one and post the abridged one and the manual for full transparency. Anybody wants to go, they're welcome to. But they need to understand the numbers, and municipal accounting is different than regular corporate accounting. So you need to understand the numbers and you need to understand how they work. But I suggest we post everything online and let anybody who wants look through it. Not a problem.
fine with me. I have no problem with it. So Richard, now we're going to have my mayor's report on the finances, the external auditor's summary report, and the detailed report. It might be interesting if our communications officer, Lori, keeps track of how many clicks there are on the different reports. If I was a betting person, I would say very few people would click on the detailed one, and if they do, they won't spend much time there. It really is not easy for anyone other than an accountant to maybe understand, and even accountants do have to know, as Councillor Edery mentioned, municipal accounting, which in some ways is very, very different than corporate accounting. In fact, that whole issue was the main issue in the second election that I faced.
2009.
I'm sorry?
2009.
Right, 2009. Okay, that covers that. And so would someone like to move adjournment?
Schaefer,
I'm sorry?
Schaefer and Goldwax.
Okay, Councillor Schaefer, seconded by Councillor Goldwax. And anyone opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned, but I will just mention that we, the councillors, are all going back into a caucus meeting, a private caucus meeting, because our business isn't finished yet, just the formal business. Okay, thank you.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Stay safe.
Stay safe. Good night, everybody.